back again with another flaming, motivating, inspiring, keeping you alert and watching video. Alright, today's video is going to be about Baron La Qua, the Judge of the Dead, and Shadow Beings. Alright, let me just talk about Baron La Qua to begin with. Baron La Qua is not the same entity as Baron Samedi. He is an aspect of Baron, but they're two different entities. Yes, they're in that same dark death family, but depending on where you go. One place may tell you that Baron La Qua is Pitbull, and some may say that he is definitely gay there whatsoever. I mean, it all depends on where you go. But I would definitely say I would put Baron La Qua in the aggressive family. I would say he's not like your typical hot loi like Marinette Boissèche or Ezelise Yerouge. He is more of cold and calculating. He's definitely an aspect of death. So with that, you definitely find that he's not the runty, jump around type guy to express his action. He's more to express his grief and pain when he manifests through people. He's more of like the calculating type. You can say the mindset. What would I give? The best analogy I would give is a premeditated murderer. Definitely he is a judge, but he has that streak of an executioner. So if you're a novice and you're entering, you may not want to deal with that energy yet. You may want to develop some discipline before you think about dealing with Baron La Qua, because he's a totally different animal from Baron Samedi. Baron Samedi is a little step down, but Baron La Qua only deals with death and decreeing death upon his enemies itself, So you can pretty much say how it manifests with you. But now let's talk about Baron La Qua in his character, his job description. He is the Judge of the Dead. Many people don't talk about Baron La Qua because they don't know much about him. What you read about him is basically a mixture of pretty much Baron Samedi you're reading about. Well, today you're going to get the real deal. Baron La Qua is the Judge of the Dead. Now, just as though you can say he is a manifestation of energy that will, that takes you to that plane of judgment, So therefore, we can say it manifests in the physical plane and it manifests in the spiritual plane as well. So when you are able to descend into Guinea, the lowest aspect of Guinea, you'll find Baron La Qua there. He stands with two people on his side, So when you come into the judgment bar, just like you have in the tradition of, ancient traditions of Egypt, you have the Dwat, the judgment where your heart is being weighed before you meet, Asar and stuff like that. Pretty much the same concept, but we just don't acknowledge, we don't acknowledge the Asar thing. We just acknowledge that there is Baron La Qua, but, there is Baron La Qua the judge, but then the judgment is more of like let's just say the judgment is more of like the people you offended, the things you did come to play in your experience. So when you have that near-death experience whatsoever, or wherever you die, this is what we view in voodoo that happens to you. You go before the judge, and you're judged, and your decree, what let's say is your sentence is laid down, or whatever your position is. It all depends on what Baron La Qua deems. He is the aspect of judgment. We can say that judgment, or the aspect of karma whatsoever as well. Using that type of language. What you do comes back to you. What you do is a reflect what your outcome is. Like this. What was it? If I'm correct in Creole, it was like Sao fait, c'est liu ouais. What you do is what you see. So therefore, this is the principle that lives in the universe, cause and effect, So on the judgment level, it's everything that you've done coming back to haunt you. And from that, it determines where you're going to be after that judgment rule. So same thing you have in the ancient Kemetic traditions of like the whole Dwat thing of Egypt, where you basically go down and you get judged by the feather of Mayat, and if you're not, you get torn up and devoured by Anubis or something. What was it? Anubis, or I forgot, what was it? Not, maybe it was, I forgot the name of the crocodile. whatsoever that devours you or something like that. I forgot, you know. But yes, the devourer of souls whatsoever. So with that, that is the job description of Baron La Qua. You know, especially people call him up to basically judge their enemies or bring a decree down of destruction upon their enemies. You know, if I correct, they call it the, what was it called? Expedition. Expedition, because the Catholic correspondence of Baron La Qua is Saint Expedition. You know, whatsoever. You know, so that's why they call it Expedition. But now, talking about shadow beings. Because he is I would say Baron La Qua is the greatest shadow being that you can ever think of. As Baron Samedi is more of like the boogeyman, you know, the king of boogeymen. You know, I definitely say Baron La Qua is the head Grim Reaper. You know, Grim Reaper is here anytime we talk about shadows. I think I don't know if I made a last video about that, but basically shadow beings. There's many shadow beings. There's human shadow beings. There's what you call boogeymen. You know, in Creole, that's where Papa Doc got the Makut from. You know, Uncle Knapsack, Tonton Makut, Uncle Knapsack, which comes from that concept of, you know, a spirit snatching the energy of humans, you know, or snatching the souls of humans itself, you know. So, but either way, boogeymen, Grim Reapers, you know, it's kind of like sometimes I definitely say this has been something confusing for me, you know, whatsoever, but making the description between the difference itself, you know. But what I do know from experience in dealing with Baron La Qua personally is this: anytime a person, let's just say Grim Reaper, comes for the souls of human beings who die, especially those who have died in the wrong, you know, dying in the wrong, meaning if people who committed suicide, people who've done whatever wrong, these spirits come after those people. Just like that movie, what was it called? Whoopi Goldberg Ghost or something like that. If you notice in those videos, in that movie, when the evil people died, what happened was these spirits came and got them and dragged them to wherever they were supposed to. You know, wherever they were supposed to go. Can we say they're boogeymen, or can we say that they were basically Grim Reapers itself? Well, let me explain one thing. It's not one Grim Reaper. There's many. You know, many of these spirits that are in charge of basically collecting the souls of wicked people and bringing them to judgment or justice itself. You know what I'm saying? So, for people that's saying that shadow beings are all bad, not all of them. I believe some of them are just here to serve a divine purpose, you know, of basically collecting the evil people and bringing them to be judged, to be sentenced to where they gotta go. You know, again, somebody will say from here, well, where does Metcalfu play a role at? You know, it's like this. Let's take the analogy as this. You know, I know it's a Baron La Qua video, but I just got to talk about this because we're talking about judgment itself. We got to talk about the infernal realms itself. You know, basically, the place that negative people go is in the lower regions of Guinea, or the lower regions of the astral. After their sentence, that's where they go. You know, so when they go to these places, we can say that that's like the hell regions itself, you know. But basically, these people that have been drug abusers, whatever, you know, committed suicide, these guys go into these realms. So after their sentence is done, boom, they dwell there. Boom, they dwell there. So that's why when you start raising people, especially negative ones, they take a lot of energy. But again, Metcalfu's role is this, you know, just like you have the judge and you have police in a jury in a room, you know, while the person's being judged. Now after the person's sentenced, they're basically led off into what you call a maximum prison facility whatsoever. But in the facility, they have guards there, you know? So therefore, the guard that governs over these hell regions is Metcalfu. He keeps them locked there so they do not come back to earth. But occasionally, you have people that pay off Metcalfu and he opens the gate for them to come raise hell on earth. But that's a whole nother story whatsoever. But anyhow, I will conclude this video. I hope this video was very informative. Thank you guys for watching. Don't think I'm going to be uploading another video today. This is it today. Like and subscribe. Peace out.